Hey there, it's another edition of Sports Insider on cleveland.com. I am Dan Labbe. He's Chris Fedor. And our first guest, Joel Hammond, is here as well. We got a full show for you. After Joel, we're going to have Joe Vardon on to talk Cavaliers and the Mary Kay Cabots talk Browns. And for the first time ever, we're going to have Bud Shaw's spin-offs. So
Bud Almighty.
Yes,
all right.
Bud Almighty.
With
just
an all-white background.
Just wait till you see Bud Shaw just floating around in our studio with his spin-offs. But let's get right to it. Like I said, the Indians Communications Coordinator, Joel Hammond, here in studio with us. We're going to talk a little Tribe Fest coming up this weekend. Tell us what we can expect.
So, third annual Tribe Fest. It's really our fans. You guys have been there. It's their best chance to really get up close and personal with our guys. And that's one thing that our fans consistently tell us. I want to get to know our players off the field. What do they like? What do they do in the off season? That sort of thing. And Tribe Fest is the way to do that. They haven't had an 0 for 12. They haven't, they're relaxed. Spring training hasn't begun yet. They're happy to be back in town and in front of our fans. So what you can expect is our autograph sessions with our players. Fun stuff on the main stage. You guys probably saw we're going to play Family Feud on Saturday morning. Home clubhouse tours for the kids. Batting cages for the kids. You can sign an honorary contract. You can get your photo taken with our guys up in our club lounge. So it's really a great family-friendly event and really an event that's friendly for all of our fans.
I got to know, before you go, Chris, are they bringing back the team barber this year?
Jesus, the team barber, is in the house. And honest to God, that is the most popular station in the event. I mean, aside from autographs, the line for Jesus, I feel bad for him. He works for 8 hours nonstop on Saturday and then another 5 on Sunday. So he earns his money that day, and I can only imagine that his hands are sore by the end of Sunday afternoon.
The real question is, Joel, does he do buzz cut number 2? Because I need a haircut.
Probably not as good as you do your own at home. You were telling us that you're your own barber. I don't think anybody can do it as well as that, but he can certainly try. So if you're going to be there, I think you are going to be there. Stop down. Maybe we'll scoot you to the front of the line.
Nice.
When it comes to this, obviously you said the 3rd annual, Joel. So obviously it's been a big hit. Why do you think it is so successful?
I think it's successful again because it's a way to sort of peel back the curtain. You've been there. You're in a part of the ballpark that most fans don't normally get to. You're sort of in our underground level. You're able to tour the batting cages, our clubhouse, our press interview room, get autographs in the visitors clubhouse. And again, a way that the players are relaxed and you're able to sort of see their personalities more so than perhaps when they're in the middle of the season and locked in on trying to hit a 99-mile-an-hour fastball and that sort of thing. So really good way to see parts of the ballpark you've never seen and also to sort of learn more about our players off the field.
When you look at you guys as an organization, on the social media front, you guys kind of been leaders there, starting with the social suite and all of that stuff. Your players are also very active on social media. Have you seen fans respond to that positively?
We have. Major League Baseball Advanced Media, which is kind of a resource for us owned by Major League Baseball, sort of can provide us reports on engagement. And what they do is they're able to strip down for market size. So essentially New York Yankees have 2 million followers on Twitter. We have 275,000 or so. So what they're able to tell us is how engaged are our fans without those follower counts. So how engaged are our fans, and consistently we rank in the top 5 in that. So it's a great way for us to interact with our fans. We're obviously part of this right field project we have going on is connecting with the millennials, with the younger fans. We want to get them to the ballpark and turn them on to our club, and that's a great way to do it. So we've seen positive stuff there, and we just had a tweet up last night at Meld after our big announcement. It's just a great way to connect, and we have certainly seen a lot of support in that area.
And that's the thing with you guys, Joel, is you do listen to the fans. What do you continue to hear when you get the feedback from the fans? Something that they would like a little bit more of or something along those lines? Yeah,
sure. So, I mean, this right field project we have going on right now, it's a perfect example of surveying and listening. So, for instance, the kids' clubhouse is expanding. That was a big success. We rolled it out a couple years ago. Let's give more of that. A better connection to the city. You hear us talk about let's connect to the East 9th Street area. There's a lot of great stuff going on out there. So we've sort of flattened it out. You've seen renderings center field where you're going to be on East 9th Street, out on the street and be able to see home plate. Whereas before, batter's eye bar was there, market pavilion was there, couldn't see anything. So you're going to be able to be outside the ballpark and see everything that's going on inside, and we're happy about that. And then the bullpens we talked before we went on, that gives you, again, more access to the players. So you're going to be up close and personal with these guys, even more so than our old bullpens, watching them warm up and seeing exactly how they go about their business. So all of this right field project has come from feedback from our fans. And it's just another way we sort of, like you said, do gauge their opinions and then put them into action.
Now, yesterday you guys made an announcement for fans who are sitting at the ballpark and craving a grilled cheese sandwich. They can get one now. You're going to add melt, Barrio, Sweet Moses, along with the other additions in these renovations. How big is it to get like a restaurant like Melt, who's kind of a staple, especially on the west side, involved in this project?
It's huge, and to be truthful with you, we've been itching to get it out. There's some, there's a lot of loose ends to tie up in something like that, legalese and contracts and all that stuff. We've been itching to get it out for a while because we knew it was going to create some excitement with our fans. Those are three great restaurants, Melt and Barrio and Sweet Moses. We had them down at the ballpark yesterday, just a lot of excitement surrounding it. And so again, you talk about fan feedback. We've heard from fans, let's bring some of our great culinary scene in Cleveland into the ballpark. And now we're the only place in town where you can watch a baseball game on the field and have a Melt sandwich and have a Barrio taco and have a Sweet Moses. I don't know if I'd recommend having all three in one night, but
I say go for it.
I was able to have 2 Melt sandwiches yesterday, and I was happy as a pig in slop. So, excuse me. So, really just a great announcement. Lots of excitement from our fans. You probably saw us have some fun on social media yesterday. Couldn't be more excited about those three folks coming in. I can tease that we have a couple more up our sleeve, just not ready to quite announce yet. So,
how about rhymes with?
Rhymes with, I can't give a hint.
How about some initials or something like that?
12 letters sounds like, no.
It's kind of like Family Feud,
That's
a little
right.
bit.
Yeah. Sure.
Joel, the thing about bringing in someplace like Melt and these other things is it feels like you guys are catching up now. Because you look at some of the newer ballparks around Major League Baseball, they've gone this route as well, and they've had the advantage of having built their park in the last, 5 years and being able to do that. And you guys, with the ballpark having been built in '94, playing catch up a little bit, and it feels like you're kind of getting there now.
Absolutely, and we'll have, we mentioned in August when we announced this, we want to celebrate the city that in which we play and also that we represent on the road. So this is part of that. We rolled out that neighborhood concept, so we'll have more on that here in the next month or so, but these restaurants are part of that. So why not take this opportunity when we are sort of doing a makeover in that area of the ballpark to bring in some of those things in other ballparks that have been a hit, that have gone over well with fans, and that frankly we knew would go over well with our fans. And again, just sort of capitalizing on the timing of having this project going on and being able to bring some of those guys in.
And you're getting closer to that day, opening day, right around the corner.
Getting closer. So we're 20. The thing behind me says 68. That was last year. So we're 78 days away from our home opener. April 10th at Progressive Field. I have a feeling that on April 9th, we're going to be sort of putting the last paint on and stuff like that. That's why we started the day after our season ended, unfortunately too early, but we started the day after, and luckily October, November, December even were mild. We've had some snow and cold this month, but I think they made enough progress, and by all accounts, we're on schedule and hopefully ready to go April 10th. So yeah, 27 days until pitchers and catchers, 78 days till home opener. So we'll see your smiling faces at the ballpark that day, I'm sure.
I got to ask you, though, a real baseball question.
Okay.
You got the Cy Young coming back. You got a guy who was top 3 MVP coming back. You guys were in the playoff hunt until the last weekend.
Yep.
Are the expectations this year get to the postseason again?
I wouldn't speak for anybody. In fact, I hear the fourth floor just cringing right now, but I would never speak for Terry or any of our guys. But just from my perspective and from our department's perspective, I think the expectations are high. Again, like you said, we made the postseason in 2013. A group of our fan base acts like we've lost 90 games the last 2 years, right? We traded for Brandon Moss. We signed Gavin Floyd. Frankly, and Tito said it this week, we didn't have to go sign a bunch of guys and spend a bunch of money because our roster was set. We have our guys. We were in contention the last 2 years. So with Kluber back, Brantley, like you said, possibly one of the best rotations in the American League at least. My personal expectations are very high. How's that, Terry and Mark? Whoever's watching right now.
Well, I mean, in the past, you had CC Sabathia bobbleheads with the Cy Young and some of these special things. You got any special up your sleeve with Corey Kluber? Maybe a true detective type thing?
More hints that I can't give. What I will say is Saturday morning at TribeFest is when we'll announce our promotional schedule.
Right.
So if the past is any indication, as you indicate, the last 2 Cy Young Award winners we have had bobbleheads the year after. If I were a betting man, which I'm not, I would probably bank on something like that.
All right.
Saturday morning at TribeFest is when you'll find out our promotional schedule.
So we've got the baseball people on high alert because of what you were talking about. Now we've got the marketing people on high alert that you were going to maybe spill something.
I'm going to go back to the office.
Just let you go
yeah.
before,
Can we cut this now? Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Joel Hammond, the Indians communication coordinator, joining us talking about TribeFest, the renovations, everything. Joel, appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, guys. See you this weekend. Okay.
All right, we are going to switch gears and talk Cavaliers. Currently on a winning streak. Last night, one of their best games against Utah. Our own Joey Morona saying the play of the year happened last night. Let's bring in our LeBron James and Cavaliers beat reporter via phone, Joe Vardon, joining us. Joe, how are you?
Well, it's going great. I don't know if we want to stop talking about the Indians, though. I mean, it just makes you feel warmer inside. It makes you think of sun and spring and green grass, and so whatever you guys want to do is fine.
It does, but let's get to that play. Like I said, our very own Joey Morona called it the play of the year. Kyrie Irving makes the strip defensively. J.R. Smith throws the ball over his head. Kyrie Irving gets it back, alley-oop to Kevin Love. Fans on Twitter were planning the championship parade after that happened, Joe.
Yeah, it was a great play. To me, it was kind of at the high point of Utah just sort of showing what kind of circus it really is. I mean, that is by definition a team toying with the opposition. I mean, throwing essentially 40-foot passes when you're not looking, like kind of like a backwards volleyball pass, and it somehow eventually turns into an alley-oop. So it was sweet. It was sweet to see. For me, the play of the year, I look at it differently. I look at it in terms of importance. I still think the play the other night against the Clippers with the inbounds pass from LeBron to Thompson was the play of the year. But certainly this one was the most entertaining, no doubt about it.
Joe, you have a story on cleveland.com right now, LeBron talking about Timofey Mozgov, and it's amazing because when you ask anybody on the roster, anybody in the organization about Timo, they just get this big smile on their face. Why do you think it is that he has been so impactful?
Because the injury to Anderson Varejao was devastating to this team. Not only just because he's a great guy and because he gives you so many different things on the floor, but he was the appearance of a big. And having him, made LeBron feel like he could play a certain way and Love could play a certain way. And when he went out, it was really kind of like a psychological or almost like a spiritually crushing blow. And if you think about like the body language and how they carried themselves in Miami, which was the day after Andy's injury, and then what happened that Sunday at home against Detroit, and then LeBron was out, and we saw. So it was like a really big deal, like worse than I think any of us really envisioned. And then this Timo guy comes along, and he not only fills Andy's void, but he does something that Andy never did, which is he changes shots. And so LeBron and Kevin and sort of everybody else now knows that they have something that really they never had before. And so it's not only something that you see in terms of points and rebounds and physical blocks, but also just in attitude and confidence in the way these guys play because they know who they have standing behind there. It's a huge lift.
Joe, obviously LeBron James, since he came back from a couple weeks off, has been the LeBron James of old, the guy we saw for 7 years here in Cleveland, the guy we saw for 4 years in Miami. Was he really that injured? Were the injuries really that bad that he's that different of a player 2 weeks ago than he is today?
Dan, I mean, that's a great question, and I think it's a question that a lot of people are talking about, trying to find the answer to. I don't think it's quite that simple. I don't know that he was simply that hurt. I buy it that this is the best he's felt, but I think it again goes back to just this overall mental state for him. There was a lot going on in his head. Some of it had to do with the coach, despite what the team says. Some of it has to do with mortality, just being 30 years old and kind of the realization that he's this age and he knows he's played this many minutes, and oh, by the way, your body isn't quite responding like you're used to it responding. That kind of played with him a little bit. And so then, while he was away, I think he kind of recommitted himself to putting aside some of the issues that we all know existed on that end, and then from a health perspective, just getting a little bit better kind of changed him. And then you add in like these roster changes, and you clearly see a LeBron who is more engaged, who has more of a bounce to his step. And I would, not to drag on here, but I would also add, we are all talking like he looks like the LeBron of old. He does, although, I'm still not sure that he's quite as explosive as he used to be. Like, we haven't seen, him take Kevin Garnett with one hand, push him aside, and dunk the ball with the other hand. Like, we haven't seen that play yet. And until we do, I'm not sure that it's the same. It's just what we had seen the first 29 games from LeBron was such a different kind of LeBron that anything even close to the old LeBron makes us think like, oh, he's back.
Joe, 4-game winning streak now for the Cavs. They play Friday night against Charlotte, then the big showdown on Sunday afternoon against Oklahoma City. With this 4-game winning streak, what does that signal to you with this team?
Well, I think, I want to say that it signals that this is a team rounding into form. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because it's a different team. This really isn't the team that lost 6 in a row even. And it certainly isn't the team that lost 4 in a row earlier in the year, including, not including the Utah game. The team that has lost 4 in a row and then the week before had lost to Utah, and with what was obviously a bad loss. This is a different club, so I want to say that. That being said, I think it's like we all knew the season was long, but I think because the expectations were so high and because this team has been so up and down, it's really pronouncing how long of a season it actually is. And there's still so much time for something else to go horribly wrong that I just think we all should have learned a lesson that we can't really read too much into any of these streaks that they go on, because this has been a streaky club.
All right, Joe, thanks for the time.
Okay, guys.
All right, Joe Vardon joining us on Sports Insider here on cleveland.com. We're going to bring in our Browns beat reporter, Mary Kay Cabot, here momentarily to talk about the Browns' new offensive coordinator. Chris, whatever you think about this team long term, they needed what they're doing right now. Yeah. And they needed what they did against Utah last night, because they haven't done that to a lot of bad teams.
Yeah, and I understand exactly where Joe's coming from, just how long the season is. But Dan, I think you're right. This team needed confidence. This team needed momentum. And I think they needed a reason to believe in each other and believe in the coaching staff. And the only way that that was going to happen was by stringing together a bunch of wins. So now it's 4, got a chance to make it 5 Friday night against Charlotte, then that big showdown against Oklahoma City. When you beat teams like Oklahoma City, Chicago, the Clippers, that's how you start to buy in.
And winning makes everything bad go away, at least momentarily. Let's go ahead and talk about a team that needs some winning to start happening soon. We'll bring in our Browns beat reporter, Mary Kay Cabot, who is about to meet the Browns' new offensive coordinator at 1 p.m. Mary Kay, how are you?
I'm great, guys. How you doing?
Good. All right, Mary Kay. Another long coaching search for the Browns. This time it wasn't the head coach, it was the offensive coordinator search. John DeFilippo, where was he on their list?
Well, you know what? I mean, he interviewed for the job last year, so he was pretty high on the list. And anybody that Mike Pettin has a really good, strong relationship with and a familiarity with was going to be considered very highly. This was Mike Pettin driving the bus on this thing. He had carte blanche to hire whoever he wanted to. And, he kind of dipped back into a place, where he had been with John DeFilippo with the Jets in 2009. He wants somebody that's going to be loyal. Personality was a key factor. Somebody that was going to bring a passion and energy, sort of a positive vibe after what happened, and he found his man.
Mary Kay, you mentioned that the Browns interviewed him last year for the offensive coordinator gig, and here they are hiring him this year. So what traits does he bring that they like besides those ones that you mentioned in terms of his relationship with Mike Pettine? What is he known for?
Well, you know what, he's known a lot for working with young quarterbacks and, you know, being able to kind of work with and develop them. He's worked with Terrell Pryor. He's obviously worked with Derek Carr, and I got a chance to talk to Derek Carr yesterday. And we have a story up on cleveland.com right now with Derek Carr kind of praising the work that John DeFilippo did with him. He talked about how, you know, how closely he worked with him and just how instrumental he was in his development. He runs a West Coast style of offense with more the shorter passing game, but he will also mix in that zone read. And of course, some of it will depend on who the quarterback is. And I'm very interested to hear what Mike and John have to say today about, you know, the quarterback situation. How are they approaching it? Are they looking at this as, you know, we're moving forward with Johnny and we're going to see how it goes and try to see what we can make out of him, or we are open to anything?
Mary Kay, coming into this coordinator search, because Mike Pettine is a defensive-minded head coach, I was hoping for somebody that had a little bit of experience calling plays at the NFL level. The only time that DeFilippo has called plays was in college at San Jose State. How can you make me feel better about a first-time offensive coordinator once again?
Well, I actually thought that he would have paired nicely with Al Saunders, the senior offensive assistant of the Raiders, and I'm still trying to figure out kind of what happened with that. But I actually thought that that would have been a good idea to have somebody on the staff like that that has just a vast knowledge of offense and has called plays at the highest level and been involved in very successful winning teams, Super Bowl teams, those kind of things. I still think that they would do well to have somebody like that on the staff. You need that kind of an elder statesman when you're bringing in a very young guy who has never called plays before. I think it's imperative. I don't know if they have plans to do it, but I think they should.
Mary Kay, you touched on it a little bit going back to Oakland last year. Obviously, he was the quarterback's coach, not the offensive coordinator, so he wasn't calling the plays. But you look at what Oakland did last year, a lot of simple things for Derek Carr. You said a little bit of that zone read, some read option. Is that what DeFilippo is going to bring?
It depends. It depends on who the quarterback is. If he ends up with a drop back passer, then he'll run one kind of thing. If he ends up with a Johnny Manziel, then he'll tailor the offense to a Johnny Manziel. He's going to have to be flexible. He's going to have to be able to adapt to whoever is behind or under center or whatever the case may be. And you know, I think the key is that he's done those things before. He's done both, and I think he gets it. The thing that Derek Carr kept on saying over and over again, he will love. The quarterbacks are going to love this guy. Now, he didn't have any other interviews for offensive coordinator jobs, so you know, he would have to be considered somewhat of a diamond in the rough. But again, you know, when I talked to Greg Knapp, the Broncos offensive coordinator last year, he raved about him. Just raved about him. He had been his boss for 3 years in Oakland and just couldn't say enough good things about him. So, you know, I think people see that there's something to this guy, and now it's his chance to go prove it.
Mary Kay, you know what happens after a hire is made, whether it's a head coach or an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. We all start connecting dots. And one of the first things that I did, I took a look at some of the quarterbacks that he's worked with, and one of them is a free agent. Is this at all any chance that the Browns have a better chance of getting Mark Sanchez now because of the relationship with DeFilippo?
Well, you know, I would have to think that he would probably be on their radar now. He might have been on it anyways because, from what I understand, Mike Pettine liked him back when he was with the New York Jets too. So, you know, I think he's somebody that will be on the radar. You know, I think they'll all have to determine, and of course, player acquisitions. Even though those guys will have a large say, you know, Ray Farmer will have a big say in that kind of stuff too. So they'll have to all decide where they are going with this whole quarterback thing and who fits the plan.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot, our Browns beat reporter, joining us. John DeFilippo will be introduced at 1 o'clock in a press conference. Follow Mary Kay on Twitter, at Mary Kay Cabot. Get updates from that press conference. Mary Kay, thanks for the time.
Thank you, guys.
All right, it is time to bring in a new segment on Sports Insider.
Let's go.
We're going to throw it over to our very own columnist, Bud Shaw. and these are Shaw's spinoffs.
Well, guys, great to be with you. These are spinoffs of the internet spinoffs, so how confusing is that? This is a series of tweets and comments that I've come across during the course of the week, some of which are easy to understand and some of which aren't. The first one comes from a guy you may have heard of who's caught a few passes in his day, Jerry Rice, a great San Francisco 49ers wide receiver who's the all-time leader in catches. So he says, 11 of 12 balls underinflated. Can anyone spell cheating? Hashtag just saying. Okay, this is obviously in reference to the New England Patriots thing. While that number suggests pretty convincing evidence, I would say that Rice's tweet is really more an example of Bill Belichick's plausible deniability. Because if you knew that Bill Belichick was involved in this, that would be 12 balls of 12 balls that would be underinflated. He would not have missed that 12th ball, believe me. That's not his thing. The second one comes from a guy that you may or may not have heard of because his career was so short. Matt Leinart, former quarterback, who says every team tampers with footballs. Ask any quarterback in the league. This is ridiculous. And for emphasis, he adds 2 exclamation points. Okay, look. This may be ridiculous. I get it. I do believe that these guys mess around with the football a lot. But I'll say this. The proof of that is that if there was one certain left-handed soft tosser in the league who happened to be named Matt Leinart, who it didn't matter how much air was in the football, it looked like a Nerf ball coming out of his hand. So he may have something there. It helps some quarterbacks. I'm sure the best ones don't need an underinflated or overinflated ball to be successful. The third one I wanted to talk about was a comment that appeared in the bottom of one of the offensive coordinator posts I did this week, that the guy accuses me of falling off a turnip truck because apparently I'm not smart enough to understand that the Browns had trouble finding an offensive coordinator because of all the turmoil in Berea. He also suggests that John DeFilippo is here because he's a 36-year-old guy who is just basically naive enough to take the job. And to that I'll say this, listen, I have fallen off beer trucks. I may even fall off this chair. Okay, I don't want to say it's uncomfortable, but the only thing it's missing is like a bare bulb and enhanced interrogation. And as for John DeFilippo being 36 and taking this job, maybe because others didn't want it, I'd say when you're the 15th offensive coordinator in 17 seasons, when you're the 6th in the last 6 seasons, I'd say the more naive, the better. And finally, I think this is going to be an every week installment. I'd like to make a suggestion, a Twitter recommendation that you follow Joe Banner on Twitter. You may have heard of Joe Banner. The other one I would say that to follow is something called the Tweet of God. And the difference between the two is that Joe Banner claims more omniscience than the Tweet of God does. Joe Banner is right about everything, at least on Twitter and in his own mind. And what he tweeted most recently was a prediction, a tweet that he posted before the 2014 season began. And it said, predictions, Pats versus Seahawks in Super Bowl, Bears disappoint. Many think they could win division. Not me. Harbaugh is not the 49ers coach. Hey, that's pretty impressive. I would prefer, however, that he had been right about Mike Lombardi and maybe Rob Chudzinski. But I could have a prediction of my own here, and it's that next week Joe Banner will be right about something else, and at least he'll claim that. Guys?
Thanks, Bud. Bud, I got to ask you real quick before we go. So Bill Belichick has Tom Brady, right? One of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, and he's underinflating footballs and doing everything to make the offense easier. The Browns have had Charlie Fry, Colt McCoy, Derek Anderson, Brandon Whedon.
Don't remind us.
Come on, can the Browns try to underinflate some footballs or something?
Well, I think Connor Shaw looked like he was throwing something similar to a beach ball, so maybe that's where they're heading with this. I'll say this, I had never seen Bill Belichick's Sergeant Schultz impression before today, when he stood up there and said he knows nothing, he has seen nothing, and he put it all on Tom Brady, which should make for a very interesting press conference later today.
Yeah, I saw another tweet. Somebody asked what the fine would be for Tom Brady to just skip media day at the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens. All right, Bud Shaw's spinoffs. You'll get to see those every week here on Sports Insider. My thanks to Joel Hammond, Joe Vardon, Mary Kay Cabot for joining us. For Chris Fedor, I'm Dan Labbe. Thanks for watching.